Hey folks, welcome back to another video under my DP Masterclass series. And in this video, I'm going to take some time to discuss what is motor learning and why it is important to understand this process whenever you're learning a new skill. And specifically for us, it's learning to master our DPs. Now, what is motor learning? So briefly, this is the process by which your brain develops a motor program. And when we talk about a motor program, it is the movement that a person automatically produces without conscious thought. Now, if you think about that definition, the last three words, without conscious thought, that is the point where we want to arrive in mastering our DPs. We want to be playing the game, playing Street Fighter 6 against our opponent, pressing our buttons in neutral, trying to defend, trying to get openings. But once our opponent jumps forward at us on neutral jumps, we instantly react and we do our DPs without having to think about what we're doing, right? We just do it almost like a reflex action. So motor learning is achieved in two ways. There's closed loop motor control and open loop motor control. Now, without getting too scientific, closed loop motor control is associated with slow and deliberate actions whenever you're learning something unfamiliar. So a quick example is like if you're trying to learn to play the guitar for the first time, you've never picked up this instrument, you're not just going to instantly try to play flamenco style and your fingers are just moving up and down the fretboard, making notes. You're going to be doing everything very slow, deliberate. You're going to take time to form your chords one finger at a time. Similarly to learning your DPs, you're going to be doing that as well. And when we talk about open loop motor control, this is more associated with pre-programmed or automatic movement, or what I mentioned earlier about a reflex action. And that's the point where you want to arrive. So I like to use the example of the circuit board whenever describing the differences between closed loop motor control and open loop motor control. So think of it, a circuit board consists of a light bulb, a switch, and a wire between both. So I like to describe it as closed loop motor control is like the work involved in building and attaching the wire between the light bulb and the switch, and open loop motor control is basically the flipping of the switch. So what are the main lessons I like to describe or highlight from the circuit board example is basically this. If the wire is faulty, when you flip the switch, the light might not turn on, right? So that makes common sense. So the practice that you engage in during closed loop motor control is going to determine how well your open loop motor control is. So if your practice is slow and deliberate, but your DPs have a low success rate, or you're doing your DPs in a state of panic, this is the type of DP that you will perform when open loop motor control is activated. At the early stages when you're learning it at a slow pace, you want to be doing it with perfect form. You want to be doing it in a relaxed state. Now, a quick note before we move on to the other episode. Motor learning is better achieved in an environment of low stress. And here's the reason why. In an environment of high stress, your brain releases two neurotransmitters in excess amounts. That's noradrenaline and dopamine. And these two neurotransmitters bind to the prefrontal cortex, and too much of it impairs cognitive functions like motor learning for this example. If noradrenaline is too high in your body, it impairs the learning process because it leads to too much anxiety or distractibility, which inherently lowers your focus. So you want to keep your focus at a high level when you're training your DPs. So therefore, you want to do it in an environment of low stress. And with dopamine, high amounts of this neurotransmitter negatively affects error correction. Too much dopamine interferes with your ability to accurately detect and correct errors. So when you're training, and let's just say, for example, you are not getting your DP to come out, you're misfiring, you're doing a wrong input. If you have high stress, you will not be able to zone in on what you're doing wrong, or if you're doing it too early, too late, you will just get frustrated and say, well, I can't do this, and you give up because the dopamine in your brain is too high and you're not able to detect where you are going wrong. So that's just two brief examples. There are more, but that just goes to show you, try to train in an environment of low stress. And with that being said, guys, we're going to head into our another video. That's it for this on motor learning, and you'll see why understanding this concept will help you in your training and in mastering your DPs. So until next time, guys, keep training, keep practicing, keep getting better at Street Fighter 6, and I will see you in the next video of this series. Peace. Later.